Wait, are we live and recording? We're live and recording. You got to join the dance party, everyone. Hello.
Hey,
and
everybody.
a very happy Monday. Yes. So first, let me do introductions. We have in the glorious pig nose on the other side of the screen, we have Josh Malerman joining us, and we are celebrating a very big drum roll, ladies and gentlemen. Pearl. And
hi, everyone.
I'm so excited. Thank you for joining us, Josh. And Josh is going to be in conversation with Sadie Hartmann, aka, if you see it in the comments section, Mother Whore, which is just such a glorious title to have.
I'm Josh too.
And she is rocking a slightly more modest pig nose with the finger, but still in good spirits.
That's so cute.
And many of you know Josh for one of his books that just came out somewhat recently, but Goblin, which was very popular among our readers. And then, of course, Bird Box is another title many of you are familiar with. And Pearl technically is not out on the streets yet. You guys are very lucky. You are getting the pre-launch party celebration with Josh and Sadie, but as the pig noses might have suggested, there are some pigs in Pearl. And are the pigs evil? Are the pigs telling people to kill people? Pearl the pig just wants to be a pig, or does she not? You will have to read the book to find that out, and you will also have to listen to the conversation as well. But on that note, before I go ahead and pass it off, some quick little house rules. If you look to the right-hand side, you will see the old chat section. All of y'all are saying, hey, dropping lots of love. Continue to do that. Myself, as well as Rob, our horror expert, will be in the chats tonight. And then if you look down below, you will see where it says, ask a question, as that would imply that is indeed where you ask a question. So make sure that you click that and ask whatever questions you have. The best part about events are that you get to interact with Josh and Sadie. So make sure you take advantage of that. Also, since I have a sneaking suspicion we may have a good number of questions, you can upvote the questions that you're like, oh my goodness, it is imperative that this question is answered. So do bear that in mind when looking through those. And lastly, the best way to give a book lots and lots of love when it is coming out into the world is to go and purchase it. So if you look down below, there will be a purchase book button that will indeed come with a signed book plate, which is pretty freaking awesome. So now on that note, that is enough rambling for me. I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Sadie and Josh, and I will see y'all at the end of the event. Goodbye!
Bye. Thank you. Hey, Josh.
Hey, and thank you in advance for doing this. This is incredible. I'm really excited to be face to face ish and talking to you.
Yes, me too. I mean, we talk pretty frequently about things here and there, but it's always fun to talk about the release of a new book. I mean, it doesn't get any more exciting than that, does it?
Man, I don't know which number what number this is now, like 10 or 11 or something, but it truly, like, it's not wearing off, the exciting feeling. Like, the book comes out tomorrow, and then it kind of struck me, like, if you released 50 novels in your life, which is a ton, that's still only something that you did, like, you did only 50 times. Like,
Yeah.
What else do you do only 50 times? Hopefully we all have more than 50 birthdays, and we celebrate those like mad. So I made it a point to, be grateful for each one of these, but there's no effort involved. It's just like I have it in my hand and it's coming out tomorrow. Nothing beats that feeling. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, and it's cool because Pearl, the way it is here, Pearl, I mean, it says here right on the bottom, previously published as on this day or the day of the pig. So talk us through a little bit of the evolution of Pearl. Like how long ago did you write this? And then how did it end up as this fancy edition at Cemetery Dance and then to this?
Okay, so I had a real breakthrough moment for me came at a phone call with the amazing Christopher Golden, where he knew that I had like a backlog of books and he had a potential solution for me in how to get them out. Because you don't want to do wrong by your publisher, by, you're signed for a novel with them. You don't want to put a novel out with someone else, that kind of thing. So he talked to me about how you could put a novella out or a limited edition novel. And he sent me to Paul Miller at Earthling. And Paul Miller and I worked on Goblin together. So what happened in that moment was sort of a door was open for me where I discovered that I am able to release a book with the Big Five, release an indie, release a Big Five, release an indie. And the entire career so far has been that. Bird Box, Big Five, House of Bottom Lake, indie, Black Mad Wheel, and literally the entire way so far. So Christopher Golden really started that whole thing for me. So after Carol, after Unbury Carol, I was like, okay, well, I want to put out another limited edition. And I had written Pearl on this the day of the pig, I had written it in, I think 16 or 7, I think 17, somewhere around there. And there's a fella in town here who goes by the name of Slasher Dave. And he makes these amazing like soundtracks for like horror soundtracks for movies that don't exist, right? And the covers are freaking out of this world, and he does that too. So I got in contact with him, and the two of us got hammered one night discussing if he would do the cover for this book. I talked to Cemetery Dance, Rich Chismar over there. He said he wanted to put it out. Slasher Dave did the cover, and that felt at the time like that was the end of the story. But then here we are years later, not that many years later. I made it sound like in the older days, a few years later. And Del Rey put out Goblin, House of Bottom Lake, and now Pearl. In terms of, let me show you this. So that's Slasher Dave's cover, obviously the one you just held up. But this is, I had an idea for like what's the right phrase? I guess for the cover for this one. And so I sent this exact drawing to Del Rey. I was like, can we make it look like this somehow?
Wow, they did such a good job.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, like truly.
Let me see it again.
Right? Yeah. I mean, look, this looks like I don't have any kids, but it looks like my kid made this.
So you had had blood dripping off the edge of your barn.
Yeah, and to me, what if somebody has read the book, then you would maybe understand that Slasher Dave's book epitomizes more of the mood by the end of the book. But I wanted where it starts. And I felt like this kind of cover, which became this, is like the first, like this represents the first elevated thought that Pearl has. It's like a child's rendering of the barn. It's like it's
that's really creepy.
Understands. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's like in all this white infinite room for him to grow, which, the Slasher Dave one looks like he's already like bonkers by then. So they sent this back, and I was, out of my mind. And that's pretty much how we got from there to here.
Yeah, because I mean, just to let your fans know who are here and watching, like, big thank you to everyone who showed up for this and is hanging out. And I will get to your questions. I see that there's a few there, so we're just gonna like chit chat a little bit, and then we'll get into some questions. But I did want to let everyone know who maybe hasn't read this that I feel personally that this is Josh's like big horror book. Like, he tackles a lot of different subgenres in all of his book. He has like weird Western, he has like dark academia, he has a collection of novellas with Goblin, like, Bird Box is just this like creature feature, like almost like invisible, apocalyptic kind of pandemic book. So you have a lot of different subgenres, but I feel like Pearl, it could definitely find itself in the horror archives along with like your classic, rats kind of horror, where it's just like 80s style. You know what I'm talking about? Like just those moments of horror that are just straight up not screwing around.
So this is something that, thank you so much for, that was amazing to hear you go through all those books. This is something that my manager, Ryan Lewis, and I talk about often, is that every now and then I just have this urge to just throw a fastball over the plate. I'm horror is home. I'm here forever. I have been here forever. But I'm also, I love the elasticity or the potential elasticity in the genre. And so I'm constantly not trying to do something weird, but thinking stretched. Every now and then, though, I'll be like, you know what? I'm in the mood. Let's just throw it over the plate. Let's just do a horror story, like straight down the middle. And the story, One Last Transformation, that I won a Stoker for, which was mind blowing. The story is up to someone else to say if it's mind blowing. But that one, I did that as well. And with Pearl, the same way. I was just like, nope, just every time it started to veer out, I was like, no, back here, like just straight over the plate. And the book I'm working on right now, I'm doing that as well. It doesn't come every day, it doesn't come every book, but every now and then I'm like, okay, let's just smoke this one. And Pearl felt like that for me. So thanks.
Yeah, I got goosebumps looking at your announcement for that new book. It's a woman's name and now it's escaping me. It starts with a D.
Daphne. Yeah.
That's gonna be creepy.
I'm so far, I'm so deep into that book that just saying her name kind of like freaks me out just now. I got this is kind of awesome actually. I got the whole box set of Nightmare on Elm Street vinyl soundtracks. This is crazy, right? First of all, this is amazing.
Yeah, gross.
This is can this guy talk for me now?
Yeah, so that's gross.
Yeah, that's gross. So, and then I pull that aside and I have a pig nose. So I've been listening to all of those, and I've been kind of stuck on.
Now I can't look at you with your dumb nose.
Dude, I kind of feel like this makes me look better. I feel like it's enhancing my cheekbones.
I think because we were backstage, I got used to it, and then all of a sudden I just noticed that you're just talking with this stupid nose on.
I don't know if everybody has a better side they think, but with this nose, I feel like it's this side's my good side. It used to be this, or it normally is this side, but with this nose, it's this one. I may have to make this more permanent, or it could just be the strings. It could be the strings that are doing this to me, but something good is happening with this, man.
You know what? Someone over here in the chat, Steven, I totally agree with this. He said Pearl is your pet cemetery. How awesome is that?
No,
I love that.
Well, I'll tell you this. I've done a few interviews for the book recently, and in all 3 interviews, the interviewer asked if it was difficult to pitch this book because the premise is pretty batshit crazy. And I'm like, yeah, this one, even as far back as I'm at the bar with a friend, and they're like, what are you working on? And I'm like, oh man, okay, so it's this pig, it's the day that this pig realizes the full potential of his mind. And then I'm like, what am I talking about right now? What did I just say out loud? And some stories I think are easier to pitch, obviously, but I also feel like Pearl the book is better than Pearl the pitch, and I think that's the kind of thing that we're always gunning for when we're writing books, but it doesn't always work out that way. And so Pearl has a special place in my heart for being what's the right phrase? It should be weirder than it is. It's actually not. It's a contained story on this farm with these characters, and somehow there's a telekinetic pig in the middle of it all.
Well, and that's why it's so scary, because there's certain parts that I highlighted while I was reading it. I have these little flags that I stick in there when something's really goosebumpy. And there's certain parts in here where it just feels super real, that this could really happen. A lot of times in horror, especially a creature feature, this is a telekinetic pig, so it's it's a stretch. But when you read something and you're just kind of hey, this could happen. I feel like I could walk into a barn or on a farm and see a pig looking at me the wrong way and kind of wonder if that, they are the most intelligent animal, correct? Or one of them?
Yeah, they're one of them. Yeah, no, that's so cool that you said that, because I almost think that was the impetus for the whole thing. What you just said, if you went to a petting zoo or if you went to a farm or a barn, and then, it's intelligence often and this is a bigger discussion, but intelligence is often evident in the eyes, right? And so certain animals, when they look at you certain ways, like when you see footage of a whale eyeing someone, and you're like, ooh, that's a smart animal. You could just you sense it, and there's a level of intelligence in a barn on a farm that would be frightening. There's a look in the eye of an animal that could scare you if it looked as smart as you are. And so I think the whole thing started from that idea, that feeling.
Well, and a lot of us are no stranger to stories that take place on farms that are like really important to us. Like, you know, early on in my reading, you know, Charlotte's Web was like a big deal. And while Charlotte's Web is not a horror book by any stretch of the imagination, it's still, there were parts that scared me. Like, you know, the whole Wilbur waiting around for his own death, you know, is just kind of something that like strikes fear in the hearts of children. Like, oh, is this going to happen? You know, like Wilbur, the entire book is waiting to die. Like, that's really scary. And then, you know, we all had to read Animal Farm, or a lot of us had to read Animal Farm. So I did think about those connections too. Like, and then you wrote Carpenter's Farm during the pandemic, during 2020. So like, do you have some kind of thing with farms? I guess essentially.
Yeah, I guess it turns out. Not only that, but like Carpenter's Farm is also an identity crisis in a way, and by the end, it's sort of puzzle pieces of like who's who and who's thinking really for themselves, and what were they originally, and who are they? You know, how many personality traits, the wrong ones, did they ingest, and how do they put themselves back together again? And in Pearl, it's am I thinking for myself, or is this pig making me, not just making me do this, but making me want to do this? You know, because I want to do it, but who's making me want to do it? Are you making me want to do this? So there's similarities between those two. I like to imagine that the farms are like relatively close to each other or something. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe Pearl ate a bunch of those personality traits.
I mean, too, I mean, it's sort of like taps on isolation horror too, because it's rural America. So, I mean, farms are kind of like out there in the middle of nowhere without like a neighbor, you know, they're like acres away. So, I mean, that's touching on it too, where you just kind of feel like if I screamed right now, if something were to happen to me, if this situation were to escalate, and I think that that's what happens in Pearl, is there is an escalation that readers can anticipate. You know, like, who's going to rescue me?
Yeah, well, I think the danger or something is that it seems like Pearl has like a range, and if you're outside that range, you're okay. But so then if the minute you drive closer or go to the farm to help or whatever, then you're like stuck in his web. In a weird way, he is Wilbur and Charlotte in a strange way, you know?
Yeah.
But rather than, because that book, because his mind is like, not to sound like I'm on drugs, but his mind is a web. I mean, it really is. It's like a telekinetic web that he's spreading over the whole town. That book, for me, yes, Charlotte's Web was sad and freaky in the way you were describing, and also it was one of the first times like that I can remember where a book just like made me bawl, cry, like gut punch. Wait a minute, this isn't how stories end, right? You know,
right?
And I think that there's like there's an emotionality, like to see that, like, and that was done with animals talking to each other and that kind of thing, and so and I know that that's usually for younger readers. Okay, I get it, but it does show that is possible. You know, that level of emotionality, that level of intelligence is possible in a story of talking animals, which Watership Down. I haven't read Animal Farm, which I can't believe I just said that out loud, but I haven't. I got it.
Yeah, you know what? It's super short, and you definitely need. And Slaughterhouse-Five too. While we're talking about that, is also a good one to toss into the mix. Stephen again with this like awesome comment. He says, yes to more farm horror. Some of the best horror ever written has been based on farms. I totally agree. Like, as I'm just sitting here listening and talking to you, there are like other books taking place on farms or horror movies where it's just, this like house out in the middle of nowhere with a white picket fence and some animals. Yeah. Yeah. Sets
And like
the tone
Steven
for
in
some
the
creepy
chat,
dread.
he said earlier in the chat, growing up in the Midwest and like farm country, and it's like there is like a Twilight Zone-y aspect to that, like we all grew up like when we travel across the state, we do. We pass like old dilapidated barns and farmhouses, and a lot of people, there's like almost like a rite of passage of like, are we going to go take photos in that, the ruins of this farm, the ruins of this barn on the side of the road, and then there's a million other farms that are not ruined, but there's a sense of like it owns its own space, it is its own little patch of reality, like the Twilight Zone. So I don't know, Stephen, maybe there's something to that. And also, hi Allison. And I don't know where she is, but she's not here. And she said that the dogs control me, and it's true.
But she also said Carpenter's Farm and Pearl's Farm are the rural areas outside the city of Goblin, perhaps.
Oh, for sure. That's for sure. And a House Bottom Lake is near there. And the book I'm working on right now, and Spin a Black Yarn, for sure. That's all becoming, except Goblin's a little difficult because you can't really have like, it's hard to have someone move from Goblin to your town. It's like that person's gonna be super weird, but you could have somebody from Chaps move to Chowder. You could have somebody from East Kent move to Sam Hatton, but Goblin's a little bit more its own world.
Yeah, and Goblin is like super fresh in a lot of our minds, I'm sure. Like, speaking on behalf of myself as the owner of Nightworms, we've carried your books like I think 4 or 5 times, and like our customers are still going for it. So we're still gonna put them in our packages. We're the Maler maniacs. So yeah, just a little plug for Nightworms. But
Yeah.
you seem to put out a book like every year. Because we did Inspection, and then we did Malorie, and then Goblin, and no, the House at the Bottom of the Lake was a new re-release, and then Goblin, and then now Pearl. Is that right? Do I have that right? Oh, and then you have The Ghoul in the Cape coming too.
Yeah, in December.
I'm gonna show that. Yeah, how do you write so much?
And that thing is, oh man, I'm real excited for that one to come out too. That one's with Paul Miller and Earthling. That thing's a bit of a beast.
Yeah, this guy looks like Dennis Quaid or something.
Yeah, no, I've seen a few things online. Some people are like Patrick Swayze. Other people say
Patrick Swayze, totally.
Yeah. It's his like lesser known brother.
You modeled it
this
after
is
Patrick
his
Swayze.
story.
You did.
You already know enough about Patrick Swayze. This is his brother's story, all right?
Hey, we have like 7 questions in here. We should probably start like getting to these.
Okay.
Let's do this. Okay. When writing a first draft, do you keep the momentum when you run into a plot hole? Do you fix it right away or keep writing until you finish? That is from Tessa.
Well, I feel like I'm just starting to change my ways a little bit in this way, but at least up to now, it's always been just like drive right over any potholes, any plot holes, just drive right over them. Because to me, it's more important in that first go round to prove to myself that the whole thing could be a book. But if there's a few holes on the way, then I need to fix this later and that kind of thing. The problem with that over time, and my agent Kristen sure knows this, is that leaves a lot of work for yourself later. And I used to not mind that as much. I used to be like, oh, we'll fix it later. Oh, come on, let's roll. And then now I'm like, hold on, just 1 second, Josh. Like, if we fix it right now, we don't have to fix it later. So in the book I'm working on right now, I've been addressing those kind of things as I go along more often than not. And that pretty much answers your question. But I don't want to give you the wrong idea. These rough drafts are just fiery, blinding experiences for me, and I hope that never really changes.
Yeah, that sounds awesome to be kind of part of that creative energy. Oh, here's a cool one. So I recently read that you referred to your farm trilogy, which so far consists of On This, The Day of the Pig, Pearl, Carpenter's Farm, and when can we expect to see the third? And is it item in any way to either of the previous two? Oh, is it connected it to either of those two? That's from Steven.
I don't know. I want to do it, but then I started right after I posted that. I'm like, why does it everything have to be a trilogy? Why can't it be 3 or 2? Wait, why can't it just be these 2? Or why can't it be like a short story about a farm? Or why can't it be an album about one? Or why can't the third installment? But I do love that Michigan Twilight Zone natural organic setting, and so I have been thinking about it. I don't know exactly what that means yet, but I feel like it's got to be an identity crisis, right? It's got to be to stay in step with the first 2.
Well, like some authors too will like sneak a connected universe story into an anthology. I think those are always really fun.
Yeah.
Like
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, you can just stick a farm story in an anthology. At what point in your writing was the original title chosen, and what went into the decision to changing this title for this release? That's from Canada. Ooh, hi Canada. Those are my neighbors. Canadians are my neighbors. I'm here in Washington.
Same here. Yeah. How close are you?
Well, we're really close to Victoria. We can take a ferry.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we just go up to like Port Angeles and we can hop on a ferry and get right into Canada.
Wow, that's cool. We are about the same. Windsor is like across the river from us. So,
oh, wow.
In a weird way, like I was born north of Canada because Windsor like kind of curls under where I was born.
Oh, who knew?
Anyway.
Okay, so
right.
What was the
so
question?
The title.
Yes, title of this one.
So that one came pretty early because
I wish you could see the pig. I can't see the pig really well.
Wait, I have it too, maybe. Maybe it'll be
the pig has a scary eye.
Ooh.
Yeah, you can see it better there. Yeah.
I reckon I figured out early on, like, this story is happening almost entirely in a day, and this day is this pig's day. And so that title came like pretty early, but it was my idea to change when after Del Rey had asked to put it out wide. It was my idea. I wrote Trisha, the editor, that I thought we should change the name. And the reason why is I guess I just started thinking of Pearl as like a monster, like Dracula, like Cujo, like Carrie, more like Carrie.
Yeah.
I started to see him as like someone that I wanted featured or something. I wanted not like I wanted his name out there, but I wanted it to be like this is maybe the more like passive or maybe artistic way of saying this. And it's both the same thing. This is about the day that he takes off, and this book, it's about Pearl. And there was something just a little more direct about that to me that I liked. And Trisha went for it. And so, because when I first posted about it, somebody was like, they made you change it. I'm like, no, they didn't make me change the title. No, it's not like that. You know what I mean? I was like, no, I wanted to change it. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I always stick an extra this in there. I always want to say on this day of the pig. I always want to stick an extra this in it. So Pearl is like way easier for me.
Yeah.
I like it. This is from the bookstore, Mysterious Galaxy Bookstore, of which are our hosts. Thank you so much, Mysterious Galaxy Bookstore.
Thank you.
Which scene or section gave you the most joy to write? Without being spoilery, obviously.
Probably the county fair part, if you remember, where the old man Koppel is showing off his pig, and that whole section where the cop is like, I should have arrested him then, and you're for a moment thinking he's talking about the farmer, but no, he's talking about Pearl. And he's like, because he's like thinking back because he's in it. He's in the web now, right? And he's thinking back, and he's like, I should have arrested him then. I knew it. I had a feeling that day at the county fair when he walked out to the stage, and you think he's talking about the farmer, but he's talking about Pearl. He's like, and then that whole section of Pearl almost kind of puts on a psychic show almost inadvertently for everyone. And that scene was really fun to write. And then I've actually discovered in a lot of books, it's kind of like a scene like off camera or a takeaway moment, like that is one of the most fun to write. Like that doesn't, it's like an island scene. Like when they went to get water in the well in Bird Box, that seems to, they're not in the house or on the river. Now they're out of the house doing something together. And here, the county fair instead of the farm. So those kind of scenes are always like exciting for me to watch, to write.
Yeah. Plus it has that county fair vibe, like we were talking about with connections to Charlotte's Web. Like I was almost anticipating a county fair. Chad Lutsky said, it's discomforting that Josh's nose is starting to look normal. Like I don't even see the absurdity of it anymore. That's
I told
exactly
you.
What I said.
I think it's
flattering. I was talking to the backstage and it's just like, it's so normal at this point. Oh, that's funny. What kind of research did you do for Pearl, and did any true crime inspire anything in the book for you? Gosh, I hope not.
No. There was one. Okay, I've written 35 books now, and there was one that was like directly inspired by something else. And it's a book called Darker Than Night, and it's a true crime story that happened in Michigan, where these two hunters go up north, and they're from like where we're from, but the suburb area down here. They go up north, and then they're never heard from again. And then it becomes the search for these two guys. And I mean, I don't know if I'm ruining that book by saying that eventually it's pretty obvious that they were like fed to pigs or something, It seems like pretty obvious that was the end of that story for them. So there actually is just a little bit, because that's one of my like favorite books, enough where I wrote a novel about two pool players from this area that go to a tournament up north and they never come back. And then it's the search, what happened. It's called The Two Drunk Pool Players. And it's like, as in what happened to the two drunk pool players. And so this is one of my favorite books, and it does end in a menacing way on a farm. So in a strange way, I wouldn't call it research, but I wouldn't doubt if I was inspired by that for sure. Beyond that, there's probably a lot of, since I've been with Allison, who's a vegan, I have been vegetarian now for 6 years. And while Pearl, the book, isn't, like Pearl himself isn't portrayed as like the sweetest, nicest guy, he's also entirely righteous and justified the entire time of the entire duration of this novel. So, well, for the most part, you know what I mean? And it's almost like you understand, like he's, you can't fault him for anything that he does in this book. How about that? Yeah. And that unquestionably has come from, not that I didn't feel this way about animals before, but Allison has done like a lot in terms of opening my eyes to all that, in terms of, I wouldn't say like she never was like, you have to stop eating meat. But I mean, after a while, like listening to why she doesn't, you're kind of like, yeah, why the fuck am I doing? Let's stop. I'm going to stop doing this too. And just like years of, thinking of animals like in these ways. I've always loved animals, but it's no coincidence to me that Alice and I have as many talks as we do, and that I'm living with such like a legitimate vegan, like a hardcore vegan, and here I am writing a story that could be seen as like an animal rights activist book, which again, Pearl isn't painted in like in the sweetest of lights, but it definitely could make it on that shelf. Yeah.
No, that is, somebody said that they really want to know about that two pool players story. Where can they find that?
It's in this crate to the right of me in my office. All you got to do is come over. We'll drink here. All you got to do is come over. We'll split this bottle of rum, and in no time, I'm sure in no time, I'll be like, dude, let's open that crate.
Yeah, that reminds me of Lisi's story, you know, when people want access to the stories, you know, it's like don't hoard them for yourself. Now we're gonna come and get them. So
Oh,
knock
that's
knock.
cool. That I gotta read that book, man. I really do. I just a
You do
friend.
because it's a horror book for writers.
Okay, yeah, I gotta get on that one. I got a buddy
Yeah, you
who
do.
he writes me often from like used bookstores and Salvation Armies, and he sent me a photo of that, a hardcover. He's like, "You want me to grab?" He'll be like, "Do you want me to grab this for you?" And I said, "Yeah." So I have that coming to me from my friend Chris Brown. So I gotta read
Yeah,
that
and
one.
then you can watch a show with Julianne Moore because it was really good and Clive Barker. I mean, not Clive Barker.
Holy
Clive
shit!
Owen.
I just pictured
Clive
Clive
Barker in a
Barker.
Stephen King movie.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah, that does. I just made that up. Um, how does your approach differ when writing a story like Pearl, where everything unfolds in such a short amount of time and is extremely contained, versus a story like your upcoming novel, Ghoul in the Cape, which seems to be more epic and sprawling in both concept and page count? In other words, how do you approach writing a sprint versus a marathon? Good question, Nick.
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, it's sort of this is like the one phase of writing novels that I really can equate to music, where Bird Box felt this way, um, Pearl felt this way. The one I'm writing now absolutely feels this way, where it's you can almost equate it to like you start with by playing one low note on the synthesizer, right? And then you start like writing to that note and to this beat. And the second a second note comes up in there, the second there's any chord made at all, you pause and you're like, wait, what's different now? I'm not maintaining this. The beat has changed or another note has been added. So then you go back and like find, okay, no, it's right here. It's right here is where it changed. Here's where you added, like maybe you made a joke and there isn't a single joke before then, that kind of thing, right? So I think that for
Yeah.
me, it has to do with entirely, to answer that question, has entirely to do with mood, entirely to do with the mood of it. Like I got Pearl for one day, and in Bird Box, I mean the river scenes are really, not much longer, right? So it's like I got Pearl for one day. So long as I can maintain that low end note and that rhythm, then we can pull this off. The second we break the mood with like trying to be funny and failing at that or something, then it's like, shit, man. They'd be like in the middle of a song, or a trance song, somebody like telling a joke or something, and you're like, fuck, dude, you had me in the bed. You totally had me on like surfing the rings of Saturn, and then you tell a dad joke.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so for me, it has mostly to do with that rhythm, that hum, and the mood of like a single setting, and trying to keep everything in that zone for the duration of a book.
Well, since you were talking about music, I have a question for you that I thought of the other night. So, you are a musician and you play in a band, and then you write books, and then you also are in the movie business with Spin a Black Yarn with Ryan. So, of all those three things, because we had the Max Booth movie just come out too that you guys did. So, in terms of like working in a medium, which one of those three things do you feel the most at home in, or are you just like a true Renaissance man and all of those hats feel super comfortable to you?
I don't know. I know that in terms of like within writing, between like like a novella, a short story, the novel is home. Even throw in screenplay, poem, whatever, the novel is home. And I know in music, I'm much more interested in writing like an album than I am like a song or a guitar riff or like a jam or something, right? I'm into like the album and the novel, and they've always been, those are sort of just co-equals for me. The movie side, the business side, I'm still a little bit new to it. We're like 2 years in, Ryan and I. There are times, and I've talked to Ryan about this, there are times where I'm a little overwhelmed by that side of it, because I really am coming from, I don't want to like try to sound like, oh, I'm so pure, but I really am coming from like a fully joyful place with writing and writing songs. And on the business side, sometimes it's not all like that. It's not all this just straight like, how's everyone feeling? You know, and there's like all these decisions and decisions that you would never take this shit into account, because you don't like, come on, like let's roll or let's not. It doesn't really work that way in that world. So there is some learning curve that I'm going through there, but it's also like Ryan is absolutely brilliant in that world, and I think that him and I together make like a really great team, where he's more nuts and bolts, and he's more he has sort of like the long game like vision, and then I think that I have, well, I guess that he actually does everything.
Ryan.
Come to think of it, he actually does everything. But I still think we make a great team, damn it. So not to get so serious, but the novel, the album, that's home. And I'm new to the business side, but I really want to add, I really want Allison and I to open like a horror theater. I really want like sooner than later us to be like hosting like horror plays. I'm talking about like plays and
like live action
vignettes.
stuff.
Theater. Like practical effects on stage in a dark space, and here in Detroit, in the Detroit area, you know, I've been talking about it for a while, but I also feel like, okay, that's something you can start at 50. So we'll just
seriously, like, so I was in drama for like 4 or 5 years. I did it all through high school and then like 2 years in college, and there is something super unique about live, like performing, like, you know, performing in front of a live audience and having instant feedback. And that's sort of what I was always talking about with the difference between like watching a movie, a horror movie, and reading a novel. Like the exchange is just different, you know, so those entities feel different. And then live performance is even a step beyond, because now you're engaging. It's like a movie because there's visuals and you get to see everything, but you're also like, the actors are feeding off of the audience and the audience is feeding off the actors. So it's just this whole community effort, and it could just like, it's super magical. Like I could see you writing stuff for that.
Well, think about it. Let's just expand on this for a second. So imagine, you know, like when you see like a comedy special, it's awesome on TV or whatever. But when you're in the room with a comedian and their only goal or ambition or whatever is to make you laugh or make you think, that's like it feels like you're like witnessing like a tightrope walk, you know? And there's like an edginess to that, even if they're brilliant or whatever. And now think of that in the horror, you know, space. Oh my God, with like the practical effects, someone gets like beheaded and the head rolls across, and the music and the scream and the lights and the, you know, everything, to have that all together, it'd almost be like some combination
of like, be chilling.
Yeah, it'd be super chilling, dude. Yeah, like if you do that right, and you could have things planted throughout the theater, you know, not like in a Bill Castle way, but in a more part of the actual show way. So that side of that is super, super appealing to me, and it's really what you're talking about, because you're right. And I've seen you post about the reaction and the relationship with reading a horror story is much different than watching one. And no doubt, man, it's like absolutely no doubt. And I feel like this, what we're talking about right now, lands more on the novel side than it does on the film side, despite it being acting.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think we have time for a couple more questions, so I'm gonna pop this little chat box up. I know it's like we're almost 50 minutes in. Yeah. Oh, this is actually a good question. People ask this a lot. Not Pearl related, but where did it go now? Now it just left. With Carpenter's Farm, do you think that you will ever release that in a book format or do anything else with that story, or is it going to live on your blog?
I don't know. I mean, I would like, if Del Rey was like, let's do it, I'd be like, yeah, of course. That sounds like the greatest thing ever. And then the amazing Philip Fracassi actually sent me the only, well, hold on, the only copy in existence, the only hard copy in existence of Carpenter's Farm. So I have this on my shelf. I know, I love it. He made that and sent it to me. There is a side of me that loves how, like what it was for, and it was for people, like cash was tight, like we're all stuck at home. I'm gonna write a novel for free on the spot. We're all trying to like entertain each other. That was like the early days of this whole thing we've been going through. And so there's like there's a sweet spot to me about it, like staying that way, like forever. Like, you know, like, I know that's what it was. But then again, if Del Rey was like, dude, we want to do Carpenter's Farm, I'm like, okay, fine, let's yeah, of course. Like, how can you say no to have it? Like, I don't know though. Yeah, you see what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, because it was an experience that a lot of us, we all went on that journey during COVID. So like a lot of us did experience it that way. And then it has this soundtrack that kind of like, you know, we all listened to that and had this like watch party for that. And so that lives on its own for, you know, some of the Nightworms customers that we released that through. I could see like after everything is said and done, and who knows when we're not going to be, you know, if ever, not dealing with the coronavirus, but I could see it coming out and being like almost this nostalgic thing of like, and almost like a package deal with the CD and that as a book, as like a memory of something that we went through. Maybe.
Well, that's a cool like compromise on these ideas, right? Because what you're saying is we'll keep it there for now while we're still not fully around the bend or on the other side. But the day that this is, you know, God willing or whatever, the day that this is in the rearview mirror, that day it's okay to release it. I think that's like a good. In fact, that's like a
maybe you could write a forward.
Compromise.
Like an introduction. Someone can write like an intro for like what we were all going through at the time and blah blah blah. That would be kind of cool.
That's cool.
Okay.
I'm still wearing this nose.
I'm surprised that you haven't.
The weirdest thing is that I bought two. I bought two as if like I would be able to just like give it to you. There's a second one over here.
Yeah, right, pass it through.
One day, that's gonna happen.
Okay, let's end on this note here, and then we'll go ahead and turn it over to our host who wanted to like have some things to say. What monster or horror trope curdles your blood, and do you plan to write a novel about it if you haven't already? And that's from Rob.
The possession, man, gets me every time, man. Every time. It really messes me up. And anytime I watch a possession movie, The Exorcist, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, I mean, any possession movie messes me, or any demon-esque movie, what's it called? Paranormal Activity, where the demon or the entity is more or less like infatuated or attached to her. And Allison grew up with like a pastor father. And I don't know if it's because she grew up with religion, she sees all those movies as being like funny, or not funny, but just like, oh, whatever. Like I watched The Exorcist with her and her dad, and they were both like, oh, whatever. And I was like in the corner like,
oh yeah,
that stuff. There is something like, oh God, it just messes me up, man. Where I'll watch a movie like that, and then I'll go to the bathroom, and then I'll be like, it's like there's something standing in the door jam, like staring at me, like it's just watching me, and it's been watching me for like 30 years, and it's getting closer, and I can hear it breathing, and it's trying to get inside me. It's been watching me grow weaker and weaker for 30 years, and then it's gonna finally just enter my body and take over, and I'm gonna like kill everyone in the world. No, it doesn't go quite that far. But then I'll ask,
you really thought about that.
Then I'll ask like Allison, like, I'm not kidding. I'll be like, dude, can you go to if I wake up at 4 a.m. after a night of watching that shit, I'm like, will you walk with me to the bathroom? And she's like, dude, no, like you're okay. You know, you're a grown man. I'm like, I know, but like demons might be real, you know? So that's the answer to the first part of your question. The second one is, I don't know if I'd ever do one of those. I just don't know. There's a lot of them out there, and it would have to be like a really not original for original's sake, but it would have to be a real winner of an idea to do a full-on possession story.
I think possession stories are like one of the main tropes that scare people, though. I mean, I know a lot of horror people, and that tends to be like, high on the list. Like The Exorcist, the book and the movie, is pretty high on my list.
Yeah, same.
Because I think there's just something really frightening about the fact that you just lose your agency to something evil, that can make you do evil things. Like, it's the worst.
In college, I was actually, what the fuck, man? Allison just scared me. Allison, dude, she just went. There's a window to the left of me. There's a window to the left of me in this office, and she just went out there.
Yay! Good job, Allison.
She just started a power drill. Oh my god! And then I looked, and she's like in the window, like.
Oh, that's terrible.
Like vaguely, like here. I don't even know if you can see. Like you can kind of see out there, kind of not. Yeah.
Not good.
That just messed me up,
That's
man.
great.
Okay, wait. What were we? Real fast. We were talking about possession. Exorcist. What was it though? There was one bit, and then she like scared the hell out of me. Do you remember exactly where it was? I can't remember. My mind has been washed.
I can't remember, but our hosts, I think, were gonna pop in too. But are they just sort of like, oh yeah?
I didn't want to interrupt the point that you were making about it, but then also
you should have like slid in like a secret entity.
I know. No. I can't.
Real fast.
Yeah.
Rob, that's what it was. The idea of being in your body but not in control of your body. So that idea was so horrifying to me that when I was in college, that I went to like this used bookstore, Curious Books in Lansing, and I went to like try to look into like possession and like who would be susceptible to possession. And I read this whole book where it was like, and there's this one line that was like the artistic soul, the artistic minded is more susceptible to the devil than. And I was like, oh shit! Like I knew it. I knew it. I'm a freaking open door, man. Like my dad's in a cult. He wouldn't even if a demon tried to get my dad, it would just make me hit a wall. Yeah.
So for all of the artistic types out there, be extra careful this spooky season because you are the easiest to be taken over. Remember, of all the things from this conversation, be on high alert for that one note. But also, more importantly than the possibility of possession, ladies and gentlemen, is that Pearl is going to be out in the world tomorrow on shelves, and you can go and read Pearl and the amazing but somewhat justified tale of this pig and his amazing powers.
Yes.
So on that note, we are going to give a huge thank you to everyone for joining us. Thank you so much for all of the questions, all of the comments and everything. And a huge shout out to Josh and Sadie. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and for celebrating Pearl. And it was a delight getting to hear the two of you speak together. So just a huge thank you to both of you.
Wow.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, and thank you everybody for coming. And Alan Baxter, I agree, buried alive is the worst. You're right, that is the worst. All right. Thank you. Thank you,
everyone. Thanks for coming.
We will say good night then, and we'll see you all next time. Goodbye.
Bye.